What you're about to hear is the story of someone who chose to do things differently, and a live coaching session about the decisions or struggles behind their success. Welcome to the Lise Bruynooghe podcast. Welcome. I'm Lise Bruynooghe, and today I'm joined by Eva Vaoutsi, CEO and co-founder of Ahtida Health. Eva is a pharmaceutical and medtech industry expert with over 15 years of experience leading organizations across Europe, including CEO and country manager roles at international pharmaceutical companies that we all have heard of. Having spent her career inside the global corporate system, she made the decision to step outside of it and build something from scratch. Ahtida Health is a Swiss-registered AI-driven digital health company building the infrastructure layer for personalized medicine in Europe. Eva, a very warm welcome. Thank you for joining the show.
Liz, thank you very much for inviting me. By the way, this intro was so long. I'm just being a Greek girl living my dream in Switzerland. Just a small correction. This is not the first company I'm building from scratch. I have already built 3 entities, pharmaceutical ones. So I know how it goes and how much work it requires.
You know how it goes. And I'd love to hear this. This podcast focuses on stories of people who leave the expected track and do something based on their intuition or based on the impact they're hoping to have in the world. I know it is a challenge for you to pick 1, 2, 3 stories because there's so many of them. I'd love to hear about a moment where, you exited the straight expected line and started doing your own thing.
Zillion of moments, I would say. Too many examples, actually. But I could, so there's a saying in German, it's called roter Faden, which means this line of events where you move from one framework to some other life framework. I think 2 that are relevant to our podcast today. The first one being the fact that 16 years ago, I decided to just leave my country, Greece. I had no idea what I'm doing, by the way. I just felt that I needed a change in my life and that Greece was maybe too small for me and I needed a bigger experience and a bigger world to move in and about. And I think the reason why this decision was taken back then was because I had just finished my MBA, which actually opened the door to a different world. So I had to do it. That was one. The second one, of course, is the decision that I took last April, less than a year ago, to build Ahtida Health. It was a decision that came out of the blue because I never thought I'd have my own company. I never dreamed of doing something big. These are 2 experiences that literally threw me to the ocean and I just started swimming almost with no direction, just knowing that I wanted to do something big and something different.
Do you feel like sharing a little bit more about that, the impact you're hoping to have through that company?
Right. In this role as a CEO back then, I had built already something very big that didn't exist in Switzerland. It was a project that I delivered within 15 months, very quickly, with very strong results. A digital pharmaceutical entity with paying and registered patients already after 15 months. It was like a combination of work, of determination, and of team that I built myself slowly. It was an experience, something that doesn't need to, be discussed in detail, but those stories that we hear in the corporate world, the fear that moves people do stuff that usually they wouldn't do, stuff that normally are not positive because fear is never a positive outcome. So there was an incident where I called you. We discussed about that back then as a coach. You helped me a lot. Just look into the situation with a different eye and then realize what is going on. Like you prompt me to read the environment and what was happening. Thank you, by the way, once again, publicly for that. I think what is very important is not what happens, the incident, be it a backstabbing in the corporate world or a very bad relationship with your manager, or you were laid off because there was a restructuring in the company. It doesn't matter. What matters the most is how do you embrace this event? And it is so valuable. Everything that happens in our life, especially those bad moments when we feel this is a movie story unfolding in front of us, it should never have happened. Well, cherish the moment, because not many people have these experiences. So the moment it happens to you, you have to be grateful and say thank you. And you know why? Because first of all, there's an exponential growth on a personal level after these kind of incidents. Secondly, you start moving on a different orbit in your life. Different is always good, it's never bad, you know? And thirdly, there's this component where you start understanding motives, people much better. So you deal with life much better. The moment you start understanding people, why they do that, you become a wiser person. Okay, so it's really very important we focus on embracing and being grateful for even these bad moments, and not just sitting in the corner and crying and saying, why me? This is not an option. So it was actually indeed a moment that defines the future in what has become the last less than 1 year, like the last 10, 11 months, a different business approach in life, and led me to start this project, Ahtida Health. It was actually the willingness to accept what had happened with an open heart and just realize that thank God it happened, because now I can build my own thing. Oh, why not?
How exciting. This positivity and realism you bring to the situation is something I want to highlight. You mentioned how easy it is to fall into victimhood and say, oh, why me? Why
Yeah.
I'm so unlucky? And I see a lot of that in the world.
Mhm.
And I see also a lot of people who, like you, acknowledge, well, this is a pretty shitty situation. It's not a nice one. I would have loved to not have it, but it is. And so let's not pretend it's not. And
Correct.
let's figure out what can I do from there? What can I learn from this? What's my next step? And that's it's a beautiful attitude to have to life.
Correct. The beautiful thing about these life events is that you recognize the weaknesses and the strengths in you. And weaknesses is something very interesting to spot. One of the many examples I have from the corporate world where I was like, why, you know? But there's a reason why it happened. And the reason is because this is my character and this is my weakness. And by saying that, I have to acknowledge the fact that I'm not the best employee. Sorry, people. I'm not the best corporate employee out there because I don't follow the rules. And the moment I realized that and I accepted that, I was feeling fantastic. I mean, maybe for the millions of corporate employees or managers or CEOs of huge corporations, I'm a bad person. I'm the worst ever. Fine. If I feel okay with myself, this is what matters. At the end of the day, what matters in life is within these four walls where we live and sleep, do we feel okay with who we are? That's the big question in life. I didn't want to follow the rules of some decisions that didn't comply with my code of ethics. So I acknowledged that and I felt okay with not being the good employee. And then speaking weaknesses, at the same time, you have to see your strengths. And that made me start thinking of building something on my own. My big strength is that I'm not afraid of doing the job. I'm not afraid of jumping and just starting doing it, you know? Another strength is the discipline that I have in life. When there's so much at stake, when there's so much to do, having also a baby girl, 4 years old, you have to think, can you do it, Eva? Well, discipline and structure is something that will help you succeed when you want to do something big in your career, okay? So these strengths and also an innate quest to just achieve more and more and more. So I knew automatically I had all these three. Fear became less and less and less. And I was like, okay, I will do it.
Discipline and structure is so important when you have huge goals. They're all
Correct.
attainable. You just need to break them down into smaller chunks and then do it. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short. They have a big dream. They may be crushed or overwhelmed by the sheer size of the dream. I know your dream with Athena Health is very big too. And then they don't do anything. Or they may even go a step further. They have a big dream. They break it down. They do it for a week or two and then they stop. And we don't even need to think about big dreams, right? We can think about New Year's resolutions and people wanting to lose weight, they go to the gym for a few days and then they stop. So there's this keeping at it and really being, okay, that's a task I'm not particularly enjoying, but I want to get to that destination that I really want to get to. So I'm going to do that.
You remember we were in the mountains last summer, a bunch of women discussing about dreams, about projects, highly respected ladies, all of us, highly educated with big dreams and lives, families. There was Angela and then Kenza, and there came the question from Angela, Kenza, how do you succeed in having the family, your own business, and writing a book at the same time? And Kenza answered, I wake up every day and I make sure that I write even like a few sentences. So it's the consistency and the discipline that will facilitate yours achieving the goal. And it's so absolutely true. So I wake up very early in the morning. Of course, there are days where I'm tired. There are days where I haven't slept well. There are days where my psychologist is not high up to the sky. And I would like just love sitting there for longer, like 1 hour longer. If I stay longer in bed and don't do the job, then I will feel bad. I don't like feeling bad. So, okay, come out of the bed, Eva. So that's the way I follow my rules, because these are rules that you set for yourself. Okay, this discipline we're talking about. It's hard. Don't take me wrong. It's something that you also have to train. It's like in sports. In sports, talent is not enough. It's not only how talented you are, it's about how much do you train, how structured and disciplined you are to train 8 hours a day, nonstop, every day. This will make the difference. And this is what I've learned from playing tennis. And this is what my trainers used to say to me, you have to train. Nothing else is enough.
We talked how this one moment helped you to see your weaknesses, how it helped you also see your strength, and how looking at both really gave you the courage to jump into the unknown and create yet another company, but this time your own. Is there anything specific that you feel you had to leave behind or to unlearn about yourself or about your leadership style?
Unlearning, I think, is something very dangerous. Why? What does it mean? Unlearn. I mean, all what we are is the sum of our experiences and our character, the traits. I'm not going to say positive, negative traits. We have traits. Certain circumstances, some traits are valuable, some other will lag us behind our goals. Under other circumstances or later in life, these bad traits might be the ones that will help you actually achieve something bigger. So I'm not fond of unlearning stuff. I'm fond of just acknowledging, first of all, what you have learned and making sure to understand that who you are today is a combination of life events and stuff you have learned in the past. You have adapted, you have changed, you have trained. So I would see it as a flow of things and characteristics and events that change us in a very subtle way. This subtle way of changing is something that we don't realize daily, but it happens daily. If you wake up one day and you realize you are different from yesterday, it means one important thing. First of all, you recognize the fact that you are different. And secondly, you are different because there was a change. And change is always good, always, no matter how difficult.
It reminds me, I don't know if you had this in your school. When I was little, we had those little albums that you would give to a friend, and then you put your picture and you say what your favorite color is and your favorite animal, and you have to write a little poem or something. And in Germany at that time, there was very often the saying, stay exactly as you are because you're such a wonderful person as you are. And even as a child, I must have been, 7 or 8 years old, I thought this is the most stupid statement that one could get. I don't want to stay as I am because there's so much to learn and so many experiences to make and so many mistakes to make and to learn from as well. So I love what you're saying around this. Hey, we are the sum of all our experiences, and in every different situation and life moment, we may decide to call on this one, this one, this one, this one that's in our baggage. And we might realize, oh, there's a big gap and I need to learn something additional so that I'm ready for that situation. And it's that constant evolution so that in the end, the Eva you're today is certainly not comparable to the Eva you were 2 years ago or even a week ago.
Which is interesting what you're saying now, because I had a mentor 14 years ago. And he was doing something totally different. So I was in the commercial department of the company. He was in technology. At some point, he told me, "Stay the way you are, Eva. There aren't many people like you out there." He actually was saying that your authenticity, Eva, is something that is needed in the corporate environment. He said I should stay as I am because of authenticity, but isn't that at the same time actually one of my traits that cause trouble in my
In the
world?
corporate sector, certainly.
What I'm saying here is unlearning or bad traits or weaknesses or strengths. I'm not sure there are distinct barriers to that. Under certain circumstances, weaknesses become strengths and strengths become weaknesses. And we just have to embrace them. That's it.
Yeah, I love that. You already alluded to it. So I'm just going to ask in case there's something additional you feel that is important to share with our audience. When you had those various situations of, jumping into the deep end, you said jumping into the ocean and learning to swim, what gave you the courage to actually follow through?
Well, when life happens in any way, life happens and life happens every day. When life happens, the best thing you have to do is just move forward. I mean, there is this saying that says, you're going through hell now. Well, just keep going. That's it. We have two options in life. Either we move forward or we stay where we are. If we stay where we are, this means automatically death. So we have to choose, do we want to live or not? When you have answered this question, what there is to be done is just moving forward. Now, the courage. A set of beliefs, maybe there's your own character, and there are people in our life that make us less or more courageous. Well, first of all, rule number one: keep in your life the people that give you the courage, and not the ones that take the courage out of you. So this is very important. As it happens, I have people like 2-3 people in my environment, like family members, that always push me more and more to do like things that I love. And they know that even in my weakest moment, like I will find the courage to just move forward. But it's important that we build a community around us that is a growth community. Like we keep people close to us that will only make our flame bigger. Okay, so this is really very important. Just don't let people with negativity or out of other reasons drag you back, keep you back. Don't do that to yourself. This is really very important. Of course, the fact that I spent many years in different countries. I lived on Cyprus, I lived in Milano, here in Zurich the last 13 years. The fact that I was alone, especially the first years, made me actually work on me. These moments of quietness, these moments of loneliness, if you want, were the most crucial moments in my life that taught me, if you're able to be with you, with exactly who you are, this will give you the courage to just move forward, because you realize you can do it. You don't need necessarily someone else to do something for you. So people that you have, it might be only one person in your life. Keep them. Spend some time with yourself. Look deeply in your soul who you are. What is it that you want to do, and what is it that makes you happy? And of course, growth that comes with knowledge. Gather as much knowledge as possible. Knowledge is power. The more you learn in life, the better for you. Then you'll be less afraid of new things, because you will know for sure that you will succeed.
And I'd like to go back to the first one, not letting anyone dim your flame. I think this is so important, especially for people out there who are neurodiverse or who are gifted, because what I've seen in a lot of clients, but also in myself, is sometimes people don't get who you really are or how you're wired, let's put it this way. They want to slow you down because what you're doing is too much for them in their world.
Correct.
And so it's not because they don't care. It's usually out of a feeling of care. You're doing too much. This is crazy. You need to slow down. And it comes out of real care, but they are actually dimming your flame. And so you need to find people around you who accept you for who you are. And I remember with my best friend, I often have conversations where she knows the whole extent of everything I do. Very few people do, because as soon as I've said 2 projects, they're like, oh yeah, that's full on. And then there are 10 more to come, and they can't even, it's too much to kind of take. And my best friend, I often ask her, what do you think? Should I slow down? And very often she's like, no, that's not you. You need that intensity. You need that kind of, and those are the people you want to keep close, not the ones who will kind of restrain you out of their own inability to see that this is normal for you, even though it's not normal for them.
Well, I have to say that I was thinking of my parents now that you're saying that. My mother didn't allow my sister to become a volleyball professional. So, and reason being, of course, because my mother thought if Anna will become a professional sports person, she will never study. So the absolute priority for my mother was university, because herself, she's an academic. So she placed a lot of value on her children going to university. On the other side, we had a dad who would always say, just move forward. He was the guy, actually, the craziest of all. He was helping, he was doing stuff. He worked until he was 73 years, like 100% work. And he was the one saying, don't listen to her. It might be that you can change a bit the world. And I'm like, okay.
So I hear you have a lot of the dad inside of
This
you.
guy I like more. But it's true. The point is, yes, we have also people around us that love us, and people that are afraid that we will maybe be in pain if we opt for this or for that, which is fine. Out of these people, what you do is you embrace the fact that they love you. This gives you also the courage and the drive to do something more, because having felt love and feeling love gives you actually strength in life.
Right.
But you have to always put it on a balance and understand why this person does that.
That's where your second point of self-knowledge comes, right? If you spend sufficient time with yourself alone,
Right.
you then know, okay, is that going to be too much for me, or is that actually the right rhythm and the right intensity for myself?
Yeah.
So that it's kind of connected, both of them.
So it's the Greek panmetron ariston, which means everything has to be balanced. We need the love, we need the caring of our mothers, for example, but we need also the don't be afraid kind of people like our fathers. It's a balance that will keep us actually sane, which is very important. We have to keep ourselves sane and here at heart, like really full.
Yeah.
That's really important.
And it's funny you said like our mothers or our fathers. For me, it's inverted. The group stage is my dad, and the let's go for it would be my mom.
Which is fine.
It's absolutely fine. Yes, it's good to have both and the love in our lives. So if today was to be really useful for you, what's the one question you'd like to explore us together?
So I come from healthcare. All right. Which means actually having to do a lot with patients and people that are in pain, people that are mentally not very well. It's an industry where you get to see impact from what you're doing every day in the office. At the same time, I have a daughter and I have a nephew who, by the way, is my CTO in the company, 23 years old. And the question I pose to myself every day comes with a huge responsibility. And this means, what is the impact of this all? So impact is something that really bothers me. Bothers me not necessarily in a negative way, but I know there are around me people, family or not family, look up to me. And the responsibility that comes with that is huge. When it comes to the business, the patients that we are treating, are we going to impact these lives in a very positive way? What is going to be needed by me going forward to make the best out of it and impact as many as possible people in a very, very, very positive way. It's a responsibility question. I think if I look into the business part, this impact is highly related to the quality of services, like to the doctors that we choose, for example, or the technology we choose for the platform. Later, moving and launching to other European countries, the vision that we have for the AI doctor, how we're going to train this huge tool, the data we're going to need, gathering this data, how much impact will that generate? And then if I see and look into the personal thing, which means if I look into the people that look up to me, people that I came into contact every day, how do I react as a leader? How do I play my role as a mother, my role as a co-founder, my role as a sister, as a daughter, my role as if you want, as a mentor to my 23-year-old co-founder? Huge responsibility. And this is something I really take into consideration every day.
You mentioned the word impact. You mentioned responsibility to your patients and responsibility to the family and the people within that who are looking up to you. Where exactly is your question in all?
Spot on, Liz. You know how to place questions. I'm the person who says, actually, define the word success. There's no objective translation of the word success, as I say. Nevertheless, the question is, will I be successful in this role? This is the real question.
Okay.
But then again, I have to answer the question, what is successful? What does that mean, actually?
I think that's a good one for us to look at, in the sense that impact and success as peace and love are very big words where everyone has a different understanding.
Correct.
For some success is financial, for some success is health and joy of life. What does it mean for you? You move from impact to success. I leave it to you to tell me which one you want to define a bit better. But what does it mean exactly for you?
These two words are really highly correlated. Now that we discuss about that, now is the perfect time to contemplate on why. And by brainstorming with you about success and impact, one thing I know for sure, what I've done in my life, I didn't do it for money. Which means automatically, I'm not doing professionally something because I want the big money, the big exit, and have a house or two on some Greek island and stop working. So this is not who I am. Which means automatically for me, the reason why I do things in life is, first of all, satisfy my inner needs. And inner needs are not very well defined sometimes. We have to accept the fact that we want to do stuff and we want to achieve stuff. That's it. But it's really important for me, at least, see whatever I'm doing, to see that I have an impact in other people's lives and that these people smile. Making someone smile is like the biggest reward for me. Don't ask me why. Maybe, because I've read so many books in my life. There was a book, I think it was Midnight Children. And at some point it says, you just make one child smile, you've made the whole world smile. And it stayed with me, and it totally resonates with who I am, totally. I just like it. Success, I think, will be, actually, if 10 years from now, I hear my CTO, being then 33 years old, tell me, thank God we were co-founders, because I learned so much, because I'm now traveling in a totally different orbit in my life. I think this will be success. This I will say to myself, okay, you've done it, Eva. Chapeau. Whether success and impact will be a few million of patients on the platform, yes, why not? This will mean actually that they trust us, that we provide services that are useful, that change the world. Yes, of course, I will say this is a success and this is an impact. And then again, this will come with even a bigger responsibility. So, and this, of course, success and impact will come also along with anxiety. And anxiety is something that we have to deal with from the very onset, because anxiety is not a good thing to have when you're building stuff, but it's something that is there, and we have to acknowledge that. And we have to work on this anxiety thing and the stress that comes with all building and providing and taking care of.
You mentioning anxiety reminds me of an interview. We had the Olympics not so long ago, and someone was asking one of the Olympians whether they were afraid. And the guy answered, I always am, and you just have to push through it. You're quite right, it's just there. You're like, hey, hello, anxiety, dear friend. It is there because you are outside of your comfort zone. You are doing something that doesn't exist yet, right? Would be the
Correct.
first company in Europe to be like it is. And so, of course, there is fear along the way. Now, you mentioned your patients specifically. You said it'd be fantastic to have 1 million people. And I know with it goes your standard of quality, like 1 million people receiving high quality healthcare, not just 1 million on the platform, and we don't care about the quality. So that would be part and parcel of it.
A recognition, if you want,
Yeah.
of the services.
Yes, exactly. Because if you have patients, it means they find it useful. Otherwise, they would register somewhere else. So that's exactly that. So very strong proof of concept, but beyond that, actually, a strong veto of confidence from the market. You mentioned your CTO, him being 33 and saying, Eva, thank you. I changed orbits. I'm on a different planet entirely, thanks to the experience we've had together. You didn't say anything about your daughter.
Well, my daughter is part of me every day. She's part of everything. She's part of my emotions in a very interesting way. The more I tell her I love you, the more she comes back with I love you, Mom. You have a constant responsibility of a human being. So whatever happens, whatever I do, I know already that she will look up to me. So whatever I choose to do tomorrow, I better think in advance what this is that I'm about to choose and how this will affect Donna's life. Somehow, I know that I will not be able to be perfect, and maybe I shouldn't be perfect because the world we live in is not perfect. So even our children will have to deal with that sooner or later. It comes with a huge responsibility being a mother and a founder of a big company, but at the same time, in a very conscious way, I realized that I have to embrace even these non-perfect daily moments where she will learn out of that. I have already started the process where I teach her, you know what? It's fine. This is not perfect, but it's fine. Yesterday, she destroyed something that we had built together. And then she started crying. I was like, try and do it again.
What I noticed is how we had those two words pop up, right? You started with impact, then came the word success. I asked you a little bit about what it means for you. And it seems to me that for you, success means delivering impact to the lives of millions worldwide and specifically to the lives of named individuals who are within your direct orbit.
Correct.
The family members we spoke about. And I also love how your story with your daughter brought in this notion of imperfection, of, hey, I can't be perfect. I'd love to. We would all love to. And I think it's so important to recognize that it's impossible. We'll never be perfect. And that's okay. How does all of that land with you now?
Define perfect, first of all. What does perfect mean? And I think out of imperfect life events, I became the person who I am today. And this I can only cherish. I have become stronger because there were not perfect moments. When we become parents, or if you want leaders, managers, not leaders, because leadership is a totally different thing than being a manager. Leadership is about inspiring and being able to communicate the big picture to the people around you. But managing is a totally different set of capabilities and traits you have to have. At home, as a parent, you have to be a leader and you have to be a manager at the same time. When I became a mother 5 years ago, I was leading for the first time a pharmaceutical entity as as a general manager, actually 2 pharmaceutical entities. One of them I was leading, and the second one I built from scratch. With the whole corona crisis around me, I started leading entities, being responsible for many people, and then I gave birth to my daughter a few months later, and this experience made me reflect on how I was brought up by my parents and how my managers related with me in the past, and this made me actually a better version. Like I think I became a person with more emotional intelligence, and a person that first of all understood better my parents and my managers, which gave space within me to say, all right, I'm not angry at them, anymore, because now I know why. So this is also very important, that we create space within us to not be angry with our managers or with our friends. Because reflection is very important. By reflecting in these relationships, you choose where you want to go, and then you choose how you want to grow, how you want to treat your child, you want to treat your team, you want to actually build a company, which is kind of really highly valuable process.
And so you mentioned reflecting on these relationships. How does what you just said relate to the question you brought around your impact?
Well, I have to reiterate all the time what I'm doing, and I have to always go out of myself and see me. And I'll give you an example. We launched a month ago our direct-to-consumer platform for our patients. So we are live now with registered patients already. The legal entity was established actually on the 17th of October last year. We built a platform within less than 6 months, which is a good thing. This is the way technology goes nowadays. We sat down 2 weeks ago, and I started the discussion by telling him, you know what, we have to reiterate our project now. And he was like, what do you mean we haven't even just started? I was like, doesn't matter. We need to, how should I put it? We need to reshuffle the cards. We need to do something bigger out of what we have started already. And he was like, we just started. And I was like, doesn't matter. We have to move forward. So the impact and the responsibility make you actually reflect on what you've done already and thinking of the next step.
Yeah, and you mentioned stepping out, and seeing yourself from the outside. Now, obviously, I'm outside. And what I see is your hunger. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, we've done this less than 6 months. Really cool. Okay, well, if we could do this, we can do more. Let's go bigger. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
It's not about, becoming big. It's not the
No, yeah, you're
bigness.
right. I meant bigger in terms of the impact. So it's
So
not
exactly.
necessarily big in size as such.
Exactly. So I always go out of myself and I always reflect on who I am, what I've done. And I never say to myself, oh, you're satisfied now, just stop. No, there has to be a next step always. It doesn't matter how soon. It is never too soon for the next step. This is a reflection. This is stepping out of me and then relating that to the impact and the responsibility. Impact and responsibility has to do also with the fact that by taking always the next step, what you do actually, it's not that you're growing yourself only. You grow all your environment with you, and everyone grows in this constellation, in this ecosystem, which is a very beautiful thing if you come to think. Why not?
And I hear something around the pace with a conversation you shared with your CTO who's like, what? But we've just done that. Possibly there's a question around, okay, here's the impact we want to have. We want to strive for more as soon as we noticed, okay, here's a stable state that we've achieved and that works well. And how can you do that? And at the same time, take the people who are close to you along.
You can't do it without your people, by the way. I mean, it's not a one-man show business, and it's not one-man show family or friendship. It requires at least one other person, at least. Building something requires people, first of all, that believe in you and believe in what you're building. And of course, you need a team. Everybody hears that and said, okay, this is such a cliche. Well, it's not a cliche. You have to have your people close to you, and you have to have your ecosystem if you want to achieve something. Okay. I mean, when I had this event last year and we were discussing, you and I, you were my coach, and you said, how about you start seeing what is in the environment? Just look into the eyes of people. I needed you to teach me something that I hadn't realized that I don't do. You shifted my focus. I couldn't do it myself if you want. So you definitely need a team. I can't be a mother on my own. My daughter needs a father. My CTO needs a CEO. My co-founder needs a co-founder. We need people around us.
Eva, obviously, this is not a full-blown coaching session. We're slightly constrained in time. What is it that you've heard yourself say so far that has been insightful on this question of impact and success that you brought?
I mean, the whole discussion that I hadn't dealt with today, the whole discussion about how exactly do we define impact and how this is related to the responsibility that comes with it and the reflection. It's a bit like the inner work that we are required to do if we want to be happy with us. At the end of the day, whatever we do is something that we do because we are looking for this satisfaction and for this happiness. Is it going to Mars and building a space station? You do that because you are looking for your satisfaction. Being the mother, not working out there, you do that because this is your satisfaction. At the end of the day, we are human beings defined by our feelings and our interaction with other human beings. Whatever makes us happy is what we actually should also do in life every day. So this discussion was something new for me. And of course, every time we discuss about values, about emotions, about feelings, about impact, this is per se, it's a coaching session. So I have to thank you about that, by the way. So it was very insightful.
And what feels different for you now?
I think it's very enriching sharing the feeling, sharing the plans, and sharing the fears, the anxieties, the reflections with some other people. It's kind of invigorating, especially taking into consideration that this discussion will actually go out there and will be heard by other people and might impact in a positive way other people's lives. So it's really invigorating the fact that I was offered the opportunity to speak about truths that maybe some people haven't identified yet in their lives.
Now, this was philosophical, looking at what is your definition of impact? How does that link to how you see yourself being successful for your patients and people specifically that are important to you in your life? Is there any specific action out of that conversation?
So I wouldn't say specific action. I would say just reflecting a bit more on the stuff that we have discussed, reflecting on the new project that we have started now with the CTO on the artificial intelligence vision doctor, that the AI doctor that we are building, and taking it to the next step with reflections that add to the responsibility of building something like that, and making sure that this new tool will be something where the impact should be even stronger and bigger than today's solution that we have launched already out there. So this is in a business context, which the business context, by the way, is highly correlated with the personal context. So we cannot separate these two things. Reflection is one thing that I would work on more.
And I can see how this question you just said, actually any decision you take, is that delivering the impact that we want? Have that as a filter mechanism. I'm just rephrasing what you just said, can be extremely powerful because your time is limited and so is your CTO's time. So if something is a kind of, has an impact, but what if we could have an even bigger impact? Then you're like, oh yeah, with this we could. Then definitely you wouldn't waste your time doing the thing with a lesser impact.
Correct. And many people will hear the word impact and they will say, what a cliche to talk about. It's not. Like every person, if they think why they do things they do, it's highly correlated directly or indirectly with the impact. they want to have in their lives, be it a financial impact or an emotional impact. It's an impact. Yeah. So the moment you have recognized what impact it is that you want to succeed, you have understood yourself much better, and then you have taken already the next steps toward this goal. That's why I'm saying it's not a cliche. It's like it's our life, actually. It's a way of living.
Yeah. And it's very real. And as you were saying, it will be very different. Everyone will have a slightly different definition as to what exactly this looks like. And as you were saying throughout the entire conversation, this is not fixed in stone, right? Even your own definition of impact can evolve over time as well to include other elements that you didn't think of previously.
Correct. Absolutely.
So, Eva, we're heading for the closing. I have two final questions. The first one is 3 years from now, what would you hope had unfolded, either, for Ahtida Health or for your personal life or both? As you said, it's very interconnected. What would your hope be?
Well, I hope I will wake up in 3 years. I will look back and I will recognize a different Eva. And I hope that I will wake up and see that we indeed have built something very meaningful, that we gave meaning to people. I don't know how many people. It might be one only person or maybe a few million patients. So this is one thing. And I hope in 3 years that I have an even bigger project already going on. That this is the way I know me, I think there will be a bigger project already in place. And I hope I will be satisfied, Liz. No matter what the case will be, I hope that going to bed at night, that I will say to myself, you did well, no matter what. And that obviously the more people say that, the better for my consciousness.
Yeah. My final question. What would you say to leaders who face an important choice?
I think the most important thing I was taught in life was a sentence that came from my dad. And it was not only once. I will never forget a day I hadn't left Greece. And I told him, I will go and live in Switzerland. And he was like, okay, you're just being crazy now. It made me realize one big truth about my father. He was the man that always used to say, don't be afraid, just move forward. And I recall myself telling him, didn't you tell me not to be afraid and just do stuff? And he said, yeah, but I didn't tell you to move to some other country where you have no friends, no job, no one to wait for you. You don't even speak the German language on a mother tongue level. I mean, you do speak, but not at this level. So I will never forget this day. It made me realize how powerful this message is. Just do it. Don't be afraid. I mean, no matter what, you will have taken the next step. Be it you leave your job where you are, you have a big salary and you're afraid how you're going to pay the bills, or I don't know, just leave. And I have a very good friend in my life at the moment, and in the salary and the financial aspect of it is crucial. And she won't take the next step, the decision to just go out because she doesn't like where she is. And I'm the one who tells her, don't be afraid. There will be solutions. But if you always have plan A and plan B, you will never succeed in plan A. So make sure you don't have any plan B and you just work on your plan A. You will succeed. Fear has no place or whatsoever in our lives.
I love that. Fear has no place whatsoever in our lives. Thank you so much, Eva. Thank you for making the time. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Liz. It was really invigorating and full with reflection. And I do hope that with your podcast, that you have access to some people's lives and you change that. You yourself have an impact there.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed listening to today's Unconventional Leader. Subscribe to the podcast for more episodes like this. And if you too are someone who does things differently, join me on Substack for more leadership insights. The link is in the description below.